All right, here she is, and let's let Shauna do her thing. And this is the Geyserville 2021. You know, the name says a lot. Shauna Rosenblum, I'm so happy to see you in such a good place. Tell us about this beauty.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's see, Geyserville. This is a long-standing Ridge wine. Our first year that we produced Geyserville was 1966. And let me go back. So Ridge started in 1962. Um, it goes back to a history on Montebello Mountain, which actually the initial vineyard at Montebello was planted in 1885. Oh, there we go. That's awesome. And the history on Montebello it's pretty incredible. So it goes back to 1885. The winery there is built out of limestone. The first vines are planted. Around Prohibition, it kind of gets abandoned. And then 1959, there's 4 Stanford students who start going up there on the weekends and say, hey, we kind of want to revive this vineyard. So they started reviving the vines up there, and 1962 was the first vintage that was bonded for Ridge. And so wine was being made at Montebello for a long time, but there's been a long-standing relationship with the Trentadue family, of Healdsburg. And so our Geyserville vineyard actually surrounds the current Trentadue winery. And the vines for the Geyserville were planted back in the 1880s, 1890s, early 1900s. And the way that we make this wine is we do keep each individual parcel from the vineyard. We ferment each parcel independently. And some are planted only to Zin, some are planted only to Carignan, some are old field blends where we have Zin, Carignan, Alicante, kind of old school field blend. Each parcel is fermented independently using native yeast, and by taste, we decide which ones are the absolute best and which ones make the cut and get to go into the Geyserville. Oh, I'm sorry, my dog.
It's all right.
He's a sweet boy. He's loud. So yeah, I guess a little bit about me, my background. So I started at my family's namesake winery, Rosenblum Cellars. When I was 3 years old, my dad taught me to read bricks on a refractometer. My Girl Scout troop used to stomp grapes at the winery during harvest. By the time I was 16, I was sitting in on blends with my dad and the winemaking team. My dad and I started a winery called Rockwall in the Bay Area. Our lease ended last year and we decided to give up the space. And I heard from Ridge, and it was interesting. It was like at Rosenblum, we made lots of Zin from old vines. And at Rockwall, we made lots of Zin from old vines. And of course, the answer is yes. So started with Ridge last year and had an awesome harvest last year. And it's been incredible kind of learning the history of the way that we've made wine for the past 61 years and incorporating that into, everything, my kind of lifelong installation of winemaking from my dad, and, being around all these wonderful Zinfandel people. I've known Joel Peterson for a long time, and Becky from Zap, and a bunch of really wonderful community members. So it's been incredible. And working with fruit like this, I was kind of starstruck when I got to start working with like the Geyserville and the Lytton Springs and some of these really incredible old vine vineyards that I've enjoyed for so long. I've been a Ridge Club member for 20 years. So I'm happy. This is incredible. And I'm so happy to be here with all of you guys sharing this incredible wine and learning about Zinfandel. And I tasted through this whole lineup from my colleagues' wines, and they're just so impressive. So it's quite an honor to be here with you all tonight.
Wow, so great. I also need to say, as a Zin fan, as a wine fan, I'm not sure there's a brand in wine, not just Zin, but in wine, that has made more impressions, than Ridge. I think Ridge is whether you're, because they made you make a number of different wines as well, Chard, Cab, but in the Zin spectrum, you've really been so important to really showing people the uniqueness of place and the way that you present it on the label and the different wines that you make. It's been a iconic movement and super important to the industry. And that's just obvious. But the 2021 is drinking phenomenally. These wines are definitely age worthy. And do you like it when people say, because I'm going to say it, and I want to know if what you think of it, is being described almost claret like? Do you think that that's a fair way of describing the wine?
I do actually. And it's interesting you say that, because we do actually our largest export is in the UK. And when I talk to a lot of our folks in the UK, a lot of them make that comparison that aged Geyserville, aged Lytton Springs is really quite reminiscent of aged Bordeaux, which is interesting, because when I first heard that, I was like, oh, okay. And then, I started looking for it a little bit, tasting these older vintages. The oldest vintage I've had the opportunity to taste of Geyserville was back to 1972. And I have to be honest, I had very low expectations going in. I didn't know what to expect except old wine. And it blew my mind. It still had so much primary young energy to give, and being a 50-year-old wine, I mean, it's incredible. So yeah, I'd say that is a fair comparison.
Well, not only are the labels like timeless, but so are the facilities. But the vineyards, tell a story. And if you ever get a chance to go out and see the ranch and just take a look at those vines, they're ancient and they really are amazing to behold.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We'd love to host any of you if you'd like to come visit. This is, you'd be sitting right there on that little porch looking over this beautiful vineyard. So yeah, we're open 7 days a week. Give us a holler and come say hi and taste some delicious Ridge wine.
And Joel made a great comment there. We're talking about 100% American oak on this wine, on all the Zins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm seeing the chat. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Joel, for bringing that up. Yeah. Since 1962, Ridge has used exclusively American oak. And that's because Paul Draper in 1962, when he joined a little bit after that, said, if we're going to make the best wine in America, we have to use American oak. And it's interesting because when I think about the use of 100% American oak, it sounds really aggressive, as American oak can be. And so we're pretty judicious with our new oak, really only doing about 10% on Zinfandels, to try and keep all those sort of beautiful old vine qualities, the minerality. I mean, for me on the Geyserville, the minerality is something that's so special. I mean, it's grown in the ancient Russian riverbed, right? So really kind of gorgeous minerality that shows through 130-year-old vines. The roots are super, super deep.
Another great photo, just a feature of the 21 harvest.